The Planning Department presented the next steps for the proposed Village Center Zoning Ordinance and how the community can voice their opinion of the changes.
So that's my overview of the things that we drilled into. And I think Jen wants to talk about next steps now.
Sure. So this is version 1.0 of the zoning to go along with version 1.0 of the maps. As Tim mentioned, we've been meeting with counselors from each ward to go through the maps. Tomorrow evening, we kick off our public info input sessions. We have 7 of those scheduled, focused on different village centers over the next few weeks. And then we'll continue working on some of these things that need more refinement or some of the things we highlighted in the memo. Further working through the design guidelines. We have been talking about how we took away the special permit for the additional floor and the height, but we want to try and tie that to something like affordable housing, working through that, working through ways to incentivize historic preservation of existing buildings, what we can include for sustainability standards, some of those sorts of things. So we'll continue working on those as we're getting feedback on the maps and the zoning in advance of issuing version 2.0, hopefully sometime around February.
Great, thank you. I just want to say something briefly. I don't imagine that everyone who's joined us this evening has had the chance to carefully read through every page of this document. If you do, you mustn't have had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. But there's an impressive amount of information in here. There's also, I appreciated very much that you highlighted areas so clearly that need more work and why. If something needs a new definition because it's a use we haven't considered. Or what some of the things you just mentioned, for example, should we only allow the additional story by special permit if we get some additional affordable housing or something? I mean, should there be clear requirements and what should those be? And there's still work to do to think that through. I would like to suggest that, although I think the difference between the design standards, which are incorporated into the text, and the design guidelines, which are a separate section in the back of this document, are in here for us to begin to think about, that we wait to talk about the design guidelines because there's so much to talk about there. And some of that might relate to some of our other ordinances in engineering, for example, like stormwater. And we could really get into the weeds and start thinking of, and we should at some point, but start thinking about where some of those things pieces of them might actually move into the standards.